Hi there, my name is Chris. I'm an RFK Human Rights, RFK John Lewis Fellow for the cohort that's graduating right now, and I'm presenting my project, Crisis Map. So, in zones where journalists are blocked and narratives are very weaponized, geospatial data becomes one of the last remaining tools for the truth. And so, my project aims to use GIS and satellite imagery to document the humanitarian fallout and the current infrastructure destruction that's occurring in Gaza, the West Bank, and southern Lebanon since the 2023 escalation and the current genocide. So, ever since I started pursuing my university degree in geospatial intelligence, I've always asked myself, how do we turn pixels into proof and maps into a tool for advocacy and for justice? And so this project began with a very simple but urgent goal, which is to transform remote sensing data into accessible, actionable evidence of human suffering and destruction in conflict zones. And so what I aim to do is create essentially a multimedia geospatial initiative that documents the impacts of Israel's military campaigns in Gaza, the West Bank, and southern Lebanon, as I said before, through satellite analysis and spatial storytelling. So this project isn't just about visualizing conflict, it's about creating a scalable model for documenting human rights violations when traditional reporting really falls short, especially in places that are in heavy conflict, as right now is the areas that I mentioned before. And so this project serves as a case study and proof of concept of how satellite data and remote sensing can collectively expose the scale and nature of civilian infrastructure damage, and showing that how these methods can be applied to other underreported or ongoing crises. So the key activities for this project, uh, I really wanted to make sure that it was translated from spatial desk-based research into a very real-world engagement. And so aside from authoring a 26-page GIS-based academic report and developing a fully publishable ArcGIS story map and a resource hub, which means that it is a link where you can find all my findings publicly accessible with a very GIS-based software and just type of website. I also participated in 2 international GIS field trainings and collaborated in 8 technical workshops, as well as presenting my work throughout its progress across 4 major conferences through posters, lightning talks, and map competitions to just bring more visibility into my methodology, refine it, and also respond and see what are the responses of also field level experts that could also help with my research. So in terms of both the methodology and also what I'm offering within the story map and my report itself, first of all, to map the damage across these 3 sites, which are the areas of interest in this case, I use satellite radar data from Sentinel-1 to measure what's called VV backscatter change. Basically, it's how radar signals bounce off surfaces like buildings. And so when buildings are destroyed, the way the radar reflects back, it changes noticeably. So it helps us detect damage even through smoke or clouds, which is a very concurrent and common issue across any other type of Sentinel or other type of remote data itself. So I focus only on urban areas by using land cover data to block out any non-built regions and then compare the changes across 3 key distinct conflict periods between 2022 to 2024. And so I added in satellite data on fire locations, nighttime light loss, and visual imagery. So the analysis wasn't just one source. And the main result, as I said before, was an interactive story map called Crisis Mapped, Lebanon and Palestine. It included more than 12 maps, a timeline, of a historical timeline to provide more context into what's been going on since 1948 in the area, as well as making clear explanations of how and what satellite techniques were used, so the method can be applicable and to other conflicts and into other areas, depending on who is reviewing my RGS story map. And so you can also explore how damage has spread over time, where aid access becomes limited, and how close strike zones were to either hospitals and to shelters. And so the platform was built to be accessible and educational and replicable. So to refine and scale this work, throughout the entire year, I tried engaging as most as I could directly with experts across the humanitarian GIS field. So I participated, as I said before, in 8 technical workshops. They were mainly in RGS Pro automation, spatial statistics, SAR differencing, and humanitarian response mapping. And that was more to in order to provide and to apply more refined skills and really make sure that I was presenting the best type of research that I could for my story map and as well for the academic report. As well, I presented my methodology and throughout what I would have at the time for national and regional conferences. They were in the format of 2 formal poster sessions and then 2 short lightning talks focused on specifically more the backscatter analysis and how I was classifying the conflict phases. And through these experiences, I gained real-time feedback from GIS professionals and spatial analysts, which really led to my doing concrete improvements in SAR, differentiating the workflows into how for damage mapping, as well as integrating administrative and humanitarian access layers for a more comprehensive vulnerability assessment. Since we know that when it comes to data, especially in conflict setting, um, there's always a level of skepticism in terms of who and how is the data being collected. And so these engagements were not just to sharpen my technical rigor for this project, but also to position it within a global conversation of how remote sensing can serve as a tool of accountability, even in denied or data scarce environments. And so the data made one thing very clear. The damage wasn't just random, but it has been widespread and it can be trackable. So for more of what the main key takeaways of my report, between early and late 2023, satellite radar data show that there are sharp declines in signal strength, especially in Gaza, indicating heavy infrastructure destruction during the October attacks, as well for within southern Lebanon. While less impacted initially, it showed a clear drop by early 2024. And at the same time, nighttime light intensity dropped significantly across all 3 regions. That means that large areas lost electricity, likely result of power grid destruction. And as well, we also detected thermal hotspots, which are areas where fires broke out and that align with the locations of airstrikes in both Gaza and southern Lebanon, in which most of the maps that I include for in the RGS story map show specific spots where you can pinpoint exactly where are these locations happening. And most importantly, this fire clusters overlapped with areas that showed strong signs of structural damage in the radar data, which strengthens the case that urban areas were more directly targeted than areas that were less likely to be with population. And so the next phase of this work focuses on not just scaling impact, but also the rigor of it. And specifically, I'm preparing for a more peer-reviewed journal submission to formally share the project's damage detection and temporal conflict analysis with specifically backscatter as a variable. I also aim to really automate this methodology into potentially using machine learning in order to make real-time conflict monitoring more scalable and try to make it as a tool that people can easily look into rather than do it for themselves. And also, through my upcoming GIS analyst internship at the United Nations, I really hope to apply these tools in operational settings at the Operations Crisis Center. And I'll be applying these tools, contributing directly to crisis response and spatial risk assessments. And then long term, just really hone and focus on my goal, which is to specialize in humanitarian GIS. Thank you so much.